Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. This is NABJ NAHJ News.
A history-making conventions for more reasons than one why a special appearance by a presidential candidate is making this year's convention even more unique. And coming soon to the National Mall, the National Museum of African American History and Culture will tell you why this landmark is even more special for our members.
The NABJ NAHJ Career Fair is in full swing. Some hope to land a job, while others aim to make a big career change. What you can do to improve your odds in today's job market.
And welcome to the first NABJ NAHJ National Convention, where thousands of journalists will come together and form one of the largest conventions in the nation. And it's all happening right here in our nation's capital. Hello, I'm Charlie Cadado.
And I'm tonight's Gabrielle Gedges. Thank you for joining NABJ NAHJ News. NABJ NAHJ Convention has kicked off. Hundreds of journalists from around the country have arrived to Washington Marriott Wardman Park Hotel.
ABC's Byron Pitts and NPR's Maria Hinojosa hosted the event as hundreds of journalists across the country filled the room. As they filed in, they were treated to some island dancing. Take a look at that on stilts, and members of NABJ say they are excited about the group's future.
So far, it looks great. You know, it's much bigger than the ones in the past few years, so it looks like it's coming back, and that's a good thing. It's really kind of exciting to see a lot of young people here. I think there's some good possibilities for them. I think journalism has changed a lot.
The convention runs from today to the 7th. The NABJ convention feels like a family reunion, and this year the family's extended.
That's because for the first time in more than 8 years, the two largest minority journalism organizations are together again. The conversation first came up 25 years ago when two members from both organizations came up with the idea to unite.
This is actually the baby of your past president, Bob Butler, and my past president, Hugo Balta. They saw an opportunity, and they said this is a great way to make sure that our organizations thrive in the 21st century journalism landscape. And they came together in 2013 and said, let's do this. I'm merely carrying out that mission, but I believe in it wholeheartedly.
This convention is like this awesome, I guess, marriage partnership coming together of two communities, black and brown communities. I mean, that is just powerful in and of itself. The optics of us working together. We have very similar challenges that people of Hispanic descent and people of African American descent deal with.
And Glover says it's important for both organizations to continue to build on the NABJ and NAHJ partnership. Medina agrees this joint venture is important for the future of both organizations.
This year, nearly 4,000 journalists are expected to gather on a nation's capital, but it's the workers behind the scenes who have given their time to make sure this convention is a success. Nearly 100 volunteers work to stuff bags, pass out name tags, and make sure the convention runs smoothly. This year, those who signed up to volunteer before the convention started received a free day pass. There's still time to volunteer. Just stop by the volunteer office in the exhibit hall.
Well, the NABJ NAHJ National Convention is a historic one, unifying two organizations. Both organizations, along with help from the community, came together to bring this convention to life. Chris Grisby went behind the scenes for an inside look on how this convention was put together.
The carpets are rolling out, the booths are set. Workers are putting on the finishing touches and setting up for what could be a successful week.
It starts with logistics on getting everything in the halls. Today we'll be going from roughly 8 a.m. till God knows when.
Here at the 2016 NABJ NAHJ National Convention, a lot of things that you might see are things like a career fair or a resume critique. But what you won't see is the time that it takes to put this convention together.
Going to roll pretty good once we, set everything up.
In our hotel, we have 195,000 square feet of meeting space. NABJ, NAHJ is about 3/4 of our meeting space.
More than 175 associates are working around the clock, day in and day out, to help bring the convention to life. From the food planning to setting aside over half the rooms in the hotel, Shortino says that it takes a lot to put together a convention of this nature.
Pre-planning months in advance with our planning team. And then we actually have about 2 weeks out, we really start planning the nitty-gritty.
Along with the hotel staff, companies from around the country have representatives here in D.C. to help with the convention.
The company I work for, Apple,
has sent me over here to support the students as they're working on their project. Feels pretty good. I like to be able to help people.
Reporting from Washington, D.C., Chris Grisby, NABJ, NAHJ News.
Thank you, Chris. You know those vendors and volunteers put in a lot of hard work and efforts to help get the convention ready for kickoff. Make sure you take advantage of what NABJ NAHJ has to offer in this historic convention. And we're less than 100 days away from the presidential election, and the candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are doing everything they can to get into the White House.
The Democratic nominee is coming to the NABJ and NAHJ convention on Friday. The details are still unfolding and security will be tight, but there's a lot of discussion about what Clinton wants to say to the largest gathering of minority journalists.
And we just think it's obviously very epic and historic. We're considering this to be the largest press conference for journalists of color. So definitely for journalists, especially on the White House trail, for candidates that typically are not journalists of color, this is a big opportunity. So we expect to hear about everything that any other journalist would ask, whether it's about foreign policy or taxes or any of the other topics that she would discuss.
NABJ and NAHJ News asked how the events would run. An NABJ representative says they're still working on the format with Hillary's team. They have security and logistics to still work out, but only registered convention goers will be allowed in the events.
She signed up to come talk to over 3,000 journalists, so we're going to assume that she's ready, and definitely we're not going to be light on her, obviously. We're going to do our jobs, but it's a conversation. It's a chance for us to ask her questions, so we're excited about that.
And no doubt that momentum will keep her going as she makes her claim for the White House. This time, her chance to sit in the Oval Office. NABJ NAHJ News will be sure to keep you up to date, and you can visit our website, NABJ-NAHJ-studentprojects.com. And on the heels of the Democratic and Republican national conventions, both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are hitting the campaign trail hard.
We asked visitors what they would ask the presidential nominees if given the chance. Let's take a listen at their responses.
If I could ask Donald Trump one question, it would be, what do you have to say to the future of America, and focus on kids with Latino background?
I think if I met Hillary Clinton, I would probably want to know what solid actions will she take to bring back trust between minority communities and law enforcement.
Are you serious? That's what I would ask him.
And Clinton is set to speak at the Marriott Wardman this Friday at 11 a.m. That event is for registered attendees only. And 3 months after graduation, and some journalism students haven't found a job yet. Some convention job seekers believe this year's convention can help. Elise McLaughlin has the story.
The booths are endless at this year's NABJ NAHJ Career Fair, and in these hallways, recent graduates could find their first job.
Really hard just to even get that first smaller market job.
Ty Hawkins earned his master's degree at the Annenberg School of Communication in the spring. 3 months have passed, but he hasn't landed a job.
It's really competitive. Sometimes I've heard landing the first job is the hardest.
Hawkins isn't the only former student in this situation. A 2015 report by Georgetown University called Hard Times analyzed the unemployment rates by college majors. The findings show the unemployment rate rose for communication and journalism majors.
It's no secret that more people would rather be in front of the camera, but the reality is you'll probably have an easier time finding a job if you work behind the scenes.
Stan Chambers is the digital content director at Wink News in Fort Myers, Florida. He's been to several NABJ conventions and career fairs. Instead of looking for a job, he's now the one doing the hiring. He says he's looking to add qualified, diverse candidates to his newsroom.
When we say more diversity, we're not just talking about more black people. We're talking about black, Latino, Asian, and so when you come to the convention like this and you're able to reach out to dozens, if not hundreds, of journalists from distinct backgrounds all in one shot, I think it's an opportunity any outlet should not miss.
Chambers says the networking, career development, and the workshops this year's convention offers can only help a journalist's career.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. You have to get here, you have to eat, you have to find a place to stay. I get it. I've been there as a college student. But the resources you'll receive, the connections you'll make, the information you'll learn will set you straight for years.
And it's the idea of being set straight driving recent graduates like Hawkins to attend this and future conventions. For NABJ NAHJ News, I'm Elise McLaughlin.
A new report from the Columbia Journalism Review shows slow progress in the number of minorities winning Pulitzer Prizes. Researchers say 84% of Pulitzer winners over the last 100 years have been white. They say the problem could be traced to a lack of diversity in newsrooms.
I think it's a problem in the newsroom in general, and I'm not surprised that the number of Pulitzer winners who look like me is so few. I'm not surprised about that at all.
NABJ member Keith Alexander, a reporter with the Washington Post, was part of the winning team that won a Pulitzer this year. The team studied fatal police shootings in the U.S. Alexander says he's a proud NABJ member. And for more on the story, just head to NABJ NAHJ studentprojects.com.
And as traditional newspapers continue to face tough times, ethnic media outlets are facing a different challenge. They're seeing some growth in terms of readers, but how about dollars? We go inside the newsroom.
Inside this small office in Southeast D.C., Denise Rolark-Barnes works on the latest edition of the Washington Informer.
The newspaper was started by my dad in 1964.
Today, the paper still prints weekly and relies on print advertising as a main source of revenue. But unlike most mainstream publications, Rolark-Barnes says she's seeing growth.
While we don't want anybody to work for free, our costs are not as high.
She's not the only one.
Most read the Washington Post, you see.
Ethnic-owned papers say ad sales may be slow, but they're seeing more people interested in their publications.
The doors opening for new media, new experimentation within our brands.
El Tiempo Latino is a D.C. paper owned by the Washington Post. The publisher says they still have a strong print audience of mostly older immigrants.
We have a hostage audience. There are newcomers, there are the first immigrants that use the paper, the hard copy, for classifieds.
And besides classifieds, Rolark-Barnes says employees and freelancers are dedicated to this kind of outlet because it's their community.
We've even found those who once worked for what they like to call mainstream media, coming back to the black press.
Perhaps a blueprint for the future of ethnic media.
A blueprint indeed. The editors tell me cuts won't be slowing them down. They're always looking for freelancers.
Coming up next on NABJ NAHJ News, a booth for every attendee. Well, that seems to be the case at this year's career fair and convention.
And the largest two minority organizations are giving students a hands-on experience. What this year's student project look like.
ABC 7 and News Channel 8 are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your vision and 41-year commitment to developing the next generation of journalists is an inspiration. Thank you, NABJ.
7 on your side. 4 little words that pack a big punch.
Can you get that camera out of my face?
That hold government officials accountable.
Heads will roll.
7 on your side. Alerts you to scams and protects you from rip-offs.
Well, what about her car?
7 on your side spells bad news for the bad guys.
I got to run around until you guys stepped in.
When you have a problem that won't go away,
is the FDA doing enough?
Turn to ABC 7 News and just say the words, 7 on your side.
What sets Stormwatch 7 apart? Our job, I think, as television meteorologists, is to empower the viewer to make better decisions. It has a lot to do with the members of the weather team. I think we have a pretty good track record. I think viewers expect and also deserve solid, dependable forecast every single day. I take pride in everything the weather team does. You put us all together, very proud. Best team I've had in 38 years on TV, no question.
I'm starting. I'm not getting up yet. On the good side of the daylight, when it feels right. I'm starting. Every 10 minutes. On the good side, hit me. Good morning, Washington. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Starting up. Good morning, Washington. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Starting up. I'm starting.
The future of NABJ and NAHJ is partly based on the financial health of both organizations. As Donovan Harrell reports, the presidents of both organizations have some new fundraising strategies.
Putting it together has been nothing but joyful and exciting.
The outlook wasn't always this cheerful for the two largest organizations of color for journalists.
NABJ President Sarah Glover says financial troubles stifled the organization throughout the years. Dwindling sponsorships and declining membership led to the organization's largest deficit since 2009. In a statement, Glover says NABJ has raised $400,000 in recent months by using new fundraising strategies.
We have to earn our members' trust, and we need to earn our partners' trust, and we have to deliver on value. So we focused a lot of efforts this year on making sure that we're a strong organization and we are valuable to members, we're valuable to the journalism community, and we're valuable to our partners.
We also caught up with NAHJ President Macaulay Medina. He said he's looking to come up with some new ways to raise money and unify both organizations.
We always look toward making sure that we put on not only a successful, great experience for a member, but also a successful conference economically for all the organizations. So of course we're looking at new ways to create new revenue streams at conferences and throughout the year as well.
High attendance at this year's convention could also alleviate some of the financial stress on both organizations. Glover says that NABJ is raising the bar for quality this year to better appeal to potential financial partners. For NABJ NAHJ News, Donovan Harrell.
More than 2,000 visitors are expected to attend. Both host hotels have been booked solid. The NABJ and NAHJ Joint Convention is holding a career fair with over 4,000 exhibitors. Recruiters are looking for potential employees for their media companies. Job seekers are advised to bring a demo reel, resume, and business cards. Most importantly, these employers are looking for prepared people who stand out.
We're always looking for candidates who are bicultural, who speak Spanish, who are very much people-oriented.
The career fair runs until Friday. Job seekers can find it inside the Marriott Wardman Hotel.
And today's career fair is right on time. The latest job numbers show the U.S. unemployment rate increased nearly 5% in June. But once you're back home, you may need some other resources, and your local library may be able to help. Here at the D.C. Public Library, more than books are free. Resume help, research assistance, and even free online courses are all available for library card holders. And if you'd like to learn a new skill, you don't have to go far. The books and magazines are free, and right here is your chance to expand your skill set. And this year, NABJ and NAHJ are combining their resources for the annual student projects.
This program brings together student journalists from across the country. Costanza Trumanchi joins us now with more on the program.
That's right, guys. The Student Project has been around for more than 2 decades. And over the years, the program has given students hands-on experience.
Washington, D.C., the National Associations of Black and Hispanic Journalists are holding a joint convention, a first of its kind since Unity 2008. The Unity 2008 focused on covering diversity among race, nationality, ethnicity of journalists. It came together every 4 years to create a convention for different associations.
It's exciting. Having 2 minority groups kind of support each other, I think is really important.
The purpose of this project is to give students the opportunity to work hands-on in a newsroom.
But not every year has NAHJ and NABJ come together for a student project and the conference.
I was a participant in the student projects a year ago, and it was a pretty rigorous, intense program.
I mean, I work with NAHJ all the time. I'm the student representative, but I don't really ever get to talk to people from NABJ aside from Wilton Jackson, so it's great to be here.
The mentors in the project volunteer to teach students.
What we do is give them a real-time, real situation to be able to produce news on deadline.
Over the years, things with the convention and student project have changed.
Students were expected to do something for print, some were doing radio, some were doing broadcast.
Ultimately, the coming together of NAHJ and NABJ serves its purpose on educating students.
And students are also able to talk to recruiters as well as attend workshops and other events.
And those student projects, they're a lot of fun, but a lot of work too, right?
I know, I'm actually in the student projects and I'm having a blast.
I just wish I can get some sleep, that's all, but I don't want to miss any moments.
I mean, that's what you do in this business, right?
Thanks, Costanza.
That's right. Thanks a lot. And remember that you can find out everything you need to know about the convention by downloading the NABJ NAHJ app. Just search NABJ NAHJ in the App Store.
It's organized so you can decide what events are important to you. So don't miss out on the fun. For the first time in decades, it's now possible to fly from some U.S. airports to Cuba. The airlines see potential profits. But what about the people with strong ties to the island? Nicolette Perdomo is here with an update.
That's right, tonight. People are rediscovering Cuba since the U.S. reestablished diplomatic ties with the island nation. Some Cuban Americans, like Adriana Falero, say U.S. ties with Cuba have not improved conditions for Cuban citizens. Americans can now visit Cuba for one of 12 reasons, including family visits, educational activities, and business without having to apply for a license. Tourism is still banned, but Cubans like Falero, who left Cuba 4 years ago, think money makes a difference for the government there.
Cubans haven't really getting any improvement from this relation, so it's pretty much commercialized because, you know, there's more tourism now, there's more money coming into Cuba, there's more money for the dictators, there's more money for them and not really for the Cubans. So the economy hasn't been improving for the Cuban people.
Falero hopes to travel to Cuba in the near future to visit her family and see if there's any progress made with the U.S.'s renewed relations with Cuba. I'm Nicolette Perdomo for NABJ NAHJ News.
Thanks, Nicolette. It's been almost 2 months since the tragic Orlando shooting, but the effects are still lingering. And for journalists of color, it hits close to home. 24-year-old Jonathan Kamui was one of the 49 victims of the horrific attack and a member of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists.
Jonathan was a student member of our University of Puerto Rico chapter. And only a member for a short amount of time. But as we say, once you're part of the family, you're always part of the family.
The scholarship application will be open to students this fall. This year's NABJ NAHJ student project is all thanks to the Knight Foundation.
That's right, and this foundation has confirmed their funding for 2017 and 2018. Thank you all for your support. And still ahead on NABJ NAHJ News, there's a new neighbor on the National Mall. That neighbor is rich with African American history and culture. We'll take you there.
And want a way to visit a nation's capital and not hurt your wallet? Yes, we'll tell you what to do, free in D.C., coming up.
ABC 7 and News Channel 8 are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your vision and 41-year commitment to developing the next generation of journalists is an inspiration. Thank you, NABJ.
Take what you find here and make it better and better. For 140 years, the people of Lilly have made these words our commitment. We're proud of our scientific achievements through the years. Since those early contributions, progress continues in diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Striving for better isn't only in the products we make, but how we work with others to make life better for our loved ones, our community, and our world.
So I'll tell you, we've been working really hard on this student project. We haven't had much time to walk around the city and explore the nation's capital.
You're right, Charlie, but for many attendees, getting here at the hotel and convention can add up. Fortunately, you don't really have to spend much, if anything, to enjoy the capital city. Reporter Sophie Tapia is in studio now to help you save your dollars.
D.C. is home to the White House, Supreme Court, and the Washington Monument, but these aren't the only places that make the capital great. Today, sightseeing in D.C., and you won't scratch the surface of what it has to offer, but there are a few sites you don't want to miss. Just down the hill from the Capitol is the United States Botanical Gardens, and something inside stinks. The Botanical Gardens opened in 1842, coming up on its 200th anniversary. The exhibits are free and open to the public. Its most popular exhibit this week is the famous corpse flower. It bloomed Tuesday and caused quite a stink.
It's the biggest unbranched inflorescence in the world. That just means it's a collection of hundreds of flowers acting like they're one. It's really smelly the first 12 hours it's open. Lots of rotting flesh sort of smells. And it's massive. It's standing over 7 feet tall. We're famous for a few things, including our collection of orchids. We've got more than 5,000 specimens, a huge collection there. And also our historic plants that date back to the Wilkes Expedition 1842, including that Queen Sago over the top of the corpse flower.
Regular museum hours are 10 to 5, but the stink stopped on Wednesday. If you're looking for free museums, stand in the middle of DC's National Mall and take your pick. The Space Museum opened in 1976. It houses exhibits like the Apollo 11 capsule, the Voyager, the Hubble telescope, and the Star Trek Enterprise aircraft. Well, the studio model. Take the Metro to Woodley Park for the National Zoo. The home of 400 different species is spread across the 163-acre park, so bring your walking shoes. For NABJ NAHJ News, I'm Sophie Tapia.
The National Museum of African American History and Culture is set to open its doors in September. It holds a treasure trove of unique exhibits that you'll only find there. Here's a sneak peek. The building blocks of African American history begin here.
High five.
And people can't wait to get inside.
I was just talking to my partner over there, Mr. Powell, that our first day when school is closed, we're going to try to make a point to come down here to the National African American Museum.
This may look like a table you would find in your grandmother's house, but this simplistic table was used to sign the landmark decision that changed the course of public education for African Americans. And this aircraft flew Tuskegee Airmen into World War II glory.
This museum is attempting to tell the whole story.
John Franklin's on the research staff of the museum. His father, John Hope Franklin, was one of our most revered historians.
This actually was the dream of our Civil War veterans. In 1915, they started agitating for a museum to be created here.
60% of this building is below ground. The underground starts with the history of the global slave trade and ends at Obama's presidency. Anticipation builds here, ahead of the opening day.
There's not been a museum that captures, totally the experience of African Americans.
3 floors with exhibits highlighting the history of African Americans in sports, the military, and more await visitors.
It's a museum whose story isn't over. It's not a slavery museum. It's not a civil rights museum. Tomorrow will be history, and we'll be responsible for recording it.
The museum is scheduled to open on September 24th. You know, Charlie, I've been to many African American museums across the country, but I gotta tell you, this museum has many items you will find nowhere else.
You might have to come back in September, fly in from Detroit and check out the museum.
Definitely.
Well, coming up, a look at your weather with Ariana Maniz. Will you need an umbrella in your briefcase? The answer ahead. But first, here's a look at the nation's capital.
ABC 7 and News Channel 8 are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your vision and 41-year commitment to developing the next generation of journalists is an inspiration. Thank you, NABJ.
7 on your side. 4 little words that pack a big punch.
Can you get that camera out of my face?
That hold government officials accountable.
Heads will roll.
7 on your side.
Excuse me.
Alerts you to scams and protects you from rip-offs.
What about her car?
7 on your side spells bad news for the bad guys.
I got to run around until you guys step in.
When you have a problem that won't go away,
is the FDA doing enough?
Turn to ABC 7 News and just say the words, 7 on your side.
What sets Stormwatch 7 apart? Our job, I think, as television meteorologists, is to empower the viewer to make better decisions. It has a lot to do with the members of the weather team. I think we have a pretty good track record. I think viewers expect and also deserve solid, dependable forecast every single day. I take pride in everything the weather team does. You put us all together, very proud. Best team I've had in 38 years on TV, no question.
I'm starting. I'm back and getting up, yeah. On the good side of the daylight, when it feels right. I'm starting. Every 10 minutes. On the good side, hit me. Good morning, Washington. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Starting up. Good morning, Washington. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Starting up. I'm starting.
Man, it's been so hot out there.
I hope it stays that way. And Ariana Maniz is standing by in studio with a look at how the convention forecast will look over the next few days.
Yes, guys, I think it's looking pretty good over the next few days. For all my NABJ and NAHJ attendees, we look pretty clear tomorrow as we move throughout the weekend. And let's look at a forecast throughout the area. Around tomorrow, we should see temperatures in the 80s. So if you're going out to the convention, you may want to make sure you have a short sleeve. I wouldn't recommend a jacket because we're in the 80s. Partly cloudy, but it's still pretty nice outside for those walking from the Marriott to the Omni in the morning. Temperatures in the upper 70s around 11 a.m. and as we move to 2 p.m. and as you're on your way home from work, expect temperatures in the 80s. Around this time last year, we had an average high of 88, so we're below average, which is pretty good. Let's take a look at our outdoor eating. Around 6 p.m., like I said, as you're headed home from work, expect temperatures around 84. And if you want to go out after the convention and take a walk around the National Mall or take a walk to the White House, I think tomorrow's going to be a pretty good time for that. 78 is pretty decent. We're going to move over to our future forecast. As you can see, we have some winds moving from the ocean, still pretty clear. We're going to go over to Friday afternoon around noontime. Partly cloudy, still pretty good. Looks like we have a few showers moving towards us. And as you see this cold front moving, sneaking in through us for the weekend. If you have some weekend plans, I would suggest maybe have some alternate plans if you're trying to go to the beach, or be prepared to seek shelter because you're going to get rained out, or make sure you grab that umbrella before you leave out the house. And we're going to take a look at our 7-day cast. On Thursday, we're looking pretty good. Friday, isolated showers, high of 80s. But on Sunday, fun day, we're going to get a break from the humidity. And for my NABJ, NAHJ attendees, if you want to stay up to date on the weather, make sure you download the weather app, ABC7, to stay up to date so you know what you need to wear when you head out to that job fair. Sending it back over to you guys.
Hey, Sunday fun day. Look, her dress even matched the color of the sun.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that sunshine in the newsroom.
Yeah.
The much anticipated NABJ NAHJ National Convention has officially begun. Workshops and other special events have many attendees excited.
And coming up after the break, we talk to a first-time attendee about what she hopes this week will bring.
ABC 7 and News Channel 8 are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your vision and 41-year commitment to developing the next generation of journalists is an inspiration. Thank you, NABJ.
Take what you find here and make it better and better. For 140 years, the people of Lilly have made these words our commitment. We're proud of our scientific achievements through the years. Since those early contributions, progress continues in diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Striving for better isn't only in the products we make, but how we work with others to make life better for our loved ones, our community, and our world.
Well, hey, Ariana told us about that sun, and speaking of the sun, I mean, it was hot out there for those Skins at training camp, and Sebastian Vega's in studio with us now. How was it out there?
Well, okay, it was a little light. So Redskins training camp day 6, and yeah, it was a light day. Even though it was the most comfortable day weather-wise, head coach Jay Gruden giving his squad a little rest after a couple days in pads. So it was special teams at practice, but other players did get out to stretch their legs too, and did other things than football. Sort of. Our very own Aaron Hawksworth got a chance to play a little soccer with the cornerback and get to know the player that is Josh Norman, the Redskins' big free agent signing. He's a dynamic guy, and he's already a leader on the team. Check this out.
So how's your first Redskins camp going?
It's going well. It's going well as I thought it could go. Just out here working, trying to get better in my craft, helping other teammates try to be better within themselves.
Is it fun when you have a chance to go up against guys like Deshaun?
Absolutely, it is, because it makes brings the best out of you in that day, because you're both at high, your skill level is unbelievable, off the charts, and you just want to combat the guy as best you can. And one-on-one's been getting me a little bit, so I got to try to find a way to combat him.
What do you make about some of the critics who are kind of giving you a hard time, like, oh, he's getting burned out there? I mean, is that kind of crazy? It's ridiculous.
It's practice, man.
We're talking about practice, not a game.
I know, man. You're talking about practice, but it's cool, though. It's fun. It's all fun and games out here. We're trying to get better as a team. All the other white noise you hear outside is just other critics, and trolls that be trolling those blogs and internet. I really don't care because it don't pertain to me or what my team does. So we only here to get better, and each and every day we try to do that.
Man, those Redskins are really putting in work, and I mean, teams across the country are. Who are you guys looking out for?
Well, I'm from Chicago, so I'm so excited for the NBA season. Dwayne Wade is coming back home. So exciting.
I'm from Detroit, so let's forget about all this stuff and get back to
Well, thanks for
That's
your
good.
update, Sebastian.
Thank you, Sebastian.
The NABJ NAHJ convention officially started Wednesday at the Marriott Wardman Hotel, the same site where NABJ was founded 40 years ago.
Attendees are arriving and anxiously making their way through workshops and special events. It is Camila Hernandez's first convention, and she says she couldn't wait to be here.
I'm very excited for all the opportunities that are brought to us, and that it's such a big convention for us to network and to talk to people. And also I'm very excited about Hillary being here.
The convention ends this Sunday following the gospel brunch.
That's our news for now. Thank you for joining us.
And be sure to check out NABJ NAHJ studentprojects.com for more coverage anytime. Thank you all for watching.